This is Max and Mia podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Max and Mia podcast. I'm Max.
And I'm Mia. Thank you for joining us today.
We appreciate you spending part of your day with us. Today, we'll be discussing some fascinating topics that we think you'll find valuable.
That's right. And before we begin, we'd like to thank those of you who have been following the podcast. Your support has been encouraging, and we're grateful for the feedback we've received.
Whether this is your first time listening or you've been with us from the start, we're pleased to have you here.
Okay, so we have quite a bit to cover today, so let's get started.
Okay, guys. Today's main topic is hypothetical dilemmas and expressing opinions. This is particularly important because these kinds of conversations happen all the time in real life.
Exactly. Whether you're at work, with friends, or even meeting new people, you'll often find yourself discussing possibilities, weighing options, and sharing your perspective on different scenarios.
For instance, questions like, would you rather live in the city or the countryside? Or if you could change one thing about your past, what would it be? These require you to think critically and express your thoughts clearly.
And the beauty of these discussions is that there's no right or wrong answer. It's about articulating your reasoning and understanding different viewpoints.
Throughout today's episode, you'll also pick up some very useful vocabulary that will help you in these types of conversations.
Not only that, but we'll be reinforcing important grammar structures naturally through our dialogues. You won't even notice you're learning. It'll just happen as you listen.
Speaking of conversations, we're going to start with our first audio dialogue of the day.
In this conversation, you'll hear two friends, Alan and Alexandra, discussing a classic dilemma: to have children or not.
This is one of those questions that people approach very differently. And you'll notice that Alan speaks at a B1 level, while Alexandra demonstrates a B2 level of English.
Pay attention to how each of them expresses their opinions, the vocabulary they use, and the structures they employ to make their points.
Let's listen to their conversation.
So, Alexandra, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Do you want to have kids someday?
Honestly, I don't think so. I mean, I've always felt that having children isn't really for me. What about you?
Really? Well, I definitely want to have kids. I think by the time I'm 35, I'll be working as a stable professional and I'll have saved enough money to support a family.
That's a solid plan. But you know, if I had children, I'd be giving up so much of my freedom. I love traveling, focusing on my career, and just having time for myself, you know?
Yeah, I understand that. But don't you think you'll feel different in the future? I mean, people change.
Maybe, but I doubt it. If I'd wanted children, I think I would have felt that desire by now. I'm 32, and that feeling just hasn't come. Besides, I'll be enjoying my life in my own way, probably traveling through Southeast Asia or something while my friends are changing diapers.
Fair enough, but I think, well, if you meet the right person, things might change. You never know.
Perhaps, but here's the thing. I've thought about this carefully. If I have kids, I won't be able to pursue certain career opportunities. I'll have already committed to a completely different lifestyle, and there's no going back from that.
True, that's a big commitment. But for me, I feel like I'll be missing out if I don't have children. When I'm older, I want to have a family around me. I don't want to be alone.
I get that, but being alone and being lonely are different things. You can have a fulfilling life without children. Plus, there's no guarantee that having kids means you won't feel lonely later.
I hadn't thought about it that way. But still, I imagine myself teaching my kids things, watching them grow. I think it will be really rewarding.
And I respect that. It's just not the path I've chosen. Actually, if my parents hadn't pressured me so much about this topic, I might have been more open to the idea, but the constant questioning made me more certain about my decision.
That's tough. My family is the opposite. They're supportive whatever I choose. But I think if you're not sure about having kids, it's better not to have them. That wouldn't be fair to the child.
Exactly. That's my point. If you're going to bring a life into this world, you should be absolutely certain. It's not something you can undo.
You're right about that. I guess we just have different priorities, and that's okay.
It is. Look, if having children makes you happy, then you should definitely go for it. Just make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not because of social pressure or expectations.
Good advice. And hey, if you ever change your mind, you know where to find me for parenting tips.
I'll keep that in mind, but don't hold your breath.
That was an interesting conversation, wasn't it?
Definitely. Now, did you notice which grammar structures Alan and Alexandra were using throughout their dialogue?
This is important because when you're discussing hypothetical situations and future possibilities, certain tenses become essential. Did you catch the future continuous, future perfect, or perhaps some conditional forms?
And what about the difference between how Alan and Alexandra expressed themselves? Could you notice a distinction in their language complexity?
Alexandra tended to use more sophisticated vocabulary and longer, more complex sentence structures. Alan, on the other hand, kept things simpler and more direct, which is perfectly fine for a B1 level.
As for the topic itself, having children or not, I find it fascinating how personal this decision is. There's no universal answer.
I agree. Personally, I think it's one of those decisions where you really need to know yourself well. Both perspectives are valid. Some people find tremendous fulfillment in raising children, while others build equally meaningful lives without them.
Exactly. What matters is being honest with yourself and not making such a significant choice based on external pressure. Alexandra made a good point about that.
She did. And Alan's perspective about wanting a family is also completely understandable. It's about what works for each individual.
Well said. Now, let's move on to our second conversation of the day.
This one tackles another highly debated topic that's particularly relevant nowadays. Is university a scam?
It's a controversial question, especially with rising tuition costs and changing job markets. You'll hear Ryan, speaking at a B2 level, and Hannah, at a B1 level, sharing their contrasting views.
Pay attention once again to how they structure their arguments and the vocabulary they choose. Notice the differences in complexity between the two speakers.
Let's listen to Ryan and Hannah.
Hey, Ryan. I saw your post on social media about university being a waste of money. Do you really think that?
I do, actually. I think the whole system has become far more expensive than it used to be, while providing significantly less value in return. When our parents went to college, it was much more affordable.
Yeah, I know it's expensive now, but I still think university is important. I mean, you need a degree to get a good job, right?
That's what they want you to believe, but it's becoming less and less true. Look at the tech industry. Some of the most successful people never finish their degrees. The gap between what universities promise and what they deliver is getting wider every year.
But those are special cases. Most people need a degree. I'm studying business, and I think it will help me in the future.
I'm not saying education isn't valuable, Hannah. What I'm arguing is that traditional university is no longer the most efficient path for everyone. You could learn business skills through online courses, internships, or even starting your own small venture, all for considerably less money.
Maybe, but I don't know. University gives you more than just knowledge. You meet people, you make connections. That's important too.
Fair point. However, you can build networks in other ways as well. I used to think that university was the only place to meet like-minded people, but I've gotten used to the idea that communities exist everywhere. Online forums, co-working spaces, industry events.
I guess so. But employers still look for degrees on your resume. It's like, if you don't have one, they won't even consider you.
That's changing, though. More and more companies are removing degree requirements. They're realizing that practical experience and demonstrable skills matter much more than a piece of paper. The hiring landscape is becoming increasingly skill-focused rather than credential-focused.
Really? I didn't know that. But still, I think university teaches you how to think, how to analyze things properly.
Does it, though? Or does it teach you how to memorize information for exams and then forget it? I used to believe that university was about critical thinking, but honestly, I learned far more about problem solving in my first year of working than in 4 years of lectures.
But what about careers like medicine or law? You definitely need university for those.
Absolutely. I should clarify, I'm not saying university is useless for everyone. For certain professions, it's essential. What I'm saying is that we've created this narrative that everyone must go to university, regardless of their goals or the field they want to enter. That's the scam.
Okay, I see your point, but I'm already in my second year. I've spent so much money already. What should I do?
Well, you're getting used to university life now, right? If you're there, make the most of it. Use every resource available. Professors' office hours, career services, networking events. The problem isn't being in university, it's going into massive debt for a degree that doesn't lead anywhere.
That makes sense. I'm lucky because my parents are helping me pay for it, but I have friends with huge student loans. They're really worried.
Exactly. And that's much worse than it was in previous generations. Students are graduating with debt that's substantially higher than their starting salaries. It takes them decades to pay it off. That's not a good investment by any measure.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it does sound bad. Maybe university isn't for everyone after all.
It's about being strategic. Ask yourself, will this degree give me skills I can't get elsewhere? Will it open doors that would otherwise be closed? If the answer is yes, then go for it. If not, consider alternatives. There are many more options available now than there used to be.
You've given me a lot to think about. I still want to finish my degree, but I'll definitely be more careful about the choices I make afterward.
That's wise. Just remember, education is crucial, but university is only one form of it. The sooner people get used to that idea, the better.
Well, that was certainly thought-provoking.
It really was. Ryan and Hannah brought up some compelling arguments on both sides. Did you notice how they used comparative modifiers throughout the conversation?
Yes, phrases like far more expensive, much more affordable, and significantly less value help emphasize the degree of difference when making comparisons. These modifiers make your argument stronger and more precise.
And then there's the distinction between used to and get used to. Ryan mentioned "I used to think" when talking about his past beliefs, which is different from "I've gotten used to," which refers to becoming comfortable with something new.
Hannah also said you're getting used to university life, which shows the ongoing process of adaptation. These are subtle but important differences that can really improve your English.
Now, we're curious. What's your take on this? Do you think university is worth the investment, or are there better alternatives? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear your perspective.
Absolutely. And while you're at it, if you're enjoying this episode, please consider subscribing to the podcast and sharing it with anyone who might benefit from it. Your support helps us continue creating this content.
As for our opinion on the university debate, I actually think Ryan made some valid points. The cost has become absurd in many countries, especially the US. My cousin graduated with nearly $80,000 in debt for a degree that didn't lead to the career she expected. She's working in retail management now, which she could have done without the degree.
Right. And that's the harsh reality for many graduates. I went to university myself, and while I don't regret it, I recognize that a lot of what I learned could have been acquired through other means. The networking was valuable, sure, but was it worth 4 years and all that money? I'm not entirely convinced.
On the other hand, some fields genuinely require that formal education. Medicine, engineering, law. These aren't things you can just pick up from online courses. The structure and credentials matter.
True. I think the real problem is that we've turned university into this default expectation rather than a deliberate choice. Not everyone needs it, and that should be acceptable. The trades, apprenticeships, entrepreneurship, these are legitimate paths that society often dismisses.
Exactly. And the irony is that many trade workers earn more than people with bachelor's degrees, yet there's still this stigma attached to not going to university.
Well put. The key is making an informed decision based on your actual goals, not just following a prescribed path, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly. Now let's move to our final conversation of the day.
This one explores another sensitive topic: aging with dignity versus cosmetic surgery.
You'll hear Monica speaking at a B2 level and Larry at a B1 level, discussing their views on how we approach aging in modern society.
It's a fascinating discussion about beauty standards, self-acceptance, and personal choice. Let's listen to Monica and Larry.
Monica, I saw you like that article about accepting aging naturally. Do you really believe in that?
I do, actually. I think there's something beautiful about aging naturally. Wrinkles tell a story, they show you've lived, laughed, experienced things. Why would I want to erase that?
I understand what you mean, but I think if something makes you feel better about yourself, why not do it? My aunt got some work done last year, and she's so much happier now.
But is she happier, or does she just feel more accepted by society's unrealistic standards? That's the question we should be asking. We're constantly bombarded with images of people who've had work done, and it creates this illusion that aging is something wrong that needs fixing.
Maybe, but she told me she did it for herself, not for other people. And she looks in the mirror and feels good. Isn't that what matters?
I suppose that's valid, if it's genuinely her choice. However, I question whether any of us can truly separate our desires from societal pressure. We've been conditioned to fear aging, especially women. The cosmetic surgery industry profits billions from that fear.
That's true, but people have been trying to look younger for centuries, right? It's not just a modern thing.
Fair point. The difference now is the scale and accessibility. Procedures that were once reserved for the wealthy are becoming normalized. Teenagers are getting cosmetic work done before they've even finished developing. That's concerning.
Yeah, that does seem too young. But for older people, I think it's okay. My mom is thinking about getting something done. She says she feels young inside, but doesn't recognize the person in the mirror.
And that disconnect is precisely what I find troubling. We're teaching people that their reflection should match some idealized version rather than accepting the natural progression of life. What happens when even surgery can't maintain that illusion anymore?
I hadn't thought about that. But still, if it makes someone feel confident, I don't see the problem. Life is short. Why not feel good about how you look?
Because there's a difference between feeling good and chasing an impossible standard. The more procedures someone gets, the more they often want. It becomes addictive. Plus, these surgeries aren't without risks, complications, infections, unsatisfactory results.
True, but good surgeons can minimize those risks, and many procedures are really safe now.
Safe, perhaps, but necessary? That's debatable. I'd argue we should be investing our energy into changing the culture that makes people feel inadequate, rather than conforming to it through surgery.
That sounds good in theory, but culture changes slowly. In the meantime, people are suffering. If someone wants to fix something they're insecure about, I think that's their right.
Of course it's their right. I'm not suggesting we ban cosmetic surgery. I'm simply advocating for a shift in perspective. What if we celebrated aging instead of treating it like a disease? What if we saw gray hair and wrinkles as marks of wisdom rather than flaws?
That would be nice, but it's not realistic. People judge appearance. That's just how the world works.
But it only works that way because we allow it to. Every time someone gets surgery to look younger, they're reinforcing the message that aging is unacceptable. It's a cycle that perpetuates itself.
I see your point, but I also think people should have freedom to make their own choices without judgment.
Absolutely. I'm not judging individuals who choose surgery. What I'm critiquing is the system that profits from making people feel inadequate and the societal obsession with youth that drives these decisions.
Okay, that makes sense. So you're not against the people, just the pressure they face.
Exactly. I want people to feel beautiful at any age, without needing to alter themselves surgically. Obviously, if someone has a medical reason or genuine personal desire that's well considered, that's different. But too often, these decisions are driven by insecurity, cultivated by industries that benefit from it.
You've given me something to think about. I still think my aunt made the right choice for herself, but I understand your concerns about the bigger picture.
And that's perfectly reasonable. We can disagree on this topic and both have valid perspectives. The important thing is being thoughtful about why we make the choices we do.
That was quite a nuanced conversation.
It really was. Monica and Larry handled a sensitive topic with respect, which isn't always easy when discussing appearance and aging.
What struck me was how they both acknowledged the validity of different perspectives. Monica made strong points about societal pressure, while Larry emphasized individual autonomy.
As for where I stand, I think both have merit. I believe people should have the freedom to make choices about their own bodies without judgment. At the same time, I recognize that those choices don't happen in a vacuum. We're all influenced by the culture around us.
I feel similarly. I'd like to see a world where aging is celebrated rather than feared, but I also understand that we're not there yet. Someone choosing cosmetic surgery isn't the problem. The problem is a system that makes people feel they need it to be valued.
Exactly. And I think Monica made an important distinction. She's not criticizing individuals, but rather questioning the broader cultural forces at play.
Right. It's a complex issue without easy answers, which is why conversations like these matter.
Well said. Now, let's take a moment to recap what we've covered today.
We explored 3 thought-provoking dilemmas: having children or not, whether university is worth the investment, and aging naturally versus cosmetic surgery.
Through these conversations, you heard different English proficiency levels in action. B1 and B2 speakers discussing the same topics with varying complexity.
We also covered important grammar structures like future continuous, future perfect, conditionals, comparative modifiers, and the difference between used to and get used to.
Most importantly, you practice listening to natural, authentic conversations where people express opinions, disagree respectfully, and navigate complex topics.
That's what we aim for in every episode. Real English, not textbook dialogues.
Thank you for joining us today. We hope these conversations gave you both language practice and food for thought.
If you enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe and share it with others who might benefit.
And don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments. We genuinely want to hear your perspectives on these topics.
Until next time, keep practicing, keep learning, and most importantly, keep thinking critically.
Take care, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.